UnCruise Adventures is an American-owned, operated, and crewed company. UnCruise has been delivering small boat adventure cruising for the past 28 years. We have a total of 9 vessels, and by design, all under 86 passengers to ensure that you receive an unmatched hands-on small group exploration. Our mission here at UnCruise is to provide our guests with an enriching adventure travel experience and inspire the appreciation of the local culture and natural world. Unlike other cruise lines, our schedules in Alaska are not preset. Our expedition leaders, along with Mother Nature, collaborate to choreograph itineraries that offer the best wildlife, culture, wilderness, and the great history in every destination that we go to. During the presentation, Ben will highlight our included activities and how you can personalize your day based on those activity options. Our expedition leader will provide guidance and instructions for unfamiliar activities. So if maybe you've never kayaked before, we'll teach you how to kayak. There's no better place to learn how to kayak than in Alaska. This will ensure a seamless day, allowing you to do and see exactly what you want during your Alaskan adventure. All right, I'm just one slide away from introducing Ben. But before I do, let's meet our owner and CEO, Dan Blanchard, the brainchild of UnCruise Adventure. In this upcoming video, Dan will not only showcase the stunning remote landscape we're so privileged to cruise in, but he'll also elaborate on how UnCruise was uniquely developed, setting us apart from any other cruise company in Alaska.
Our world really isn't so small. There's a lot of places out there that are far away and are hard to get to, and the experiences are rich. I found that people come to Alaska for various reasons, but the biggest, quite frankly, is a feeling of being in the wild, a feeling of being free. For a week or two each year, when you come with us, you can truly unplug and reconnect. This land is just, it breathes life into you. I feel really connected to this place as an Alaskan. The most exciting thing for me is taking people to my special little places that nobody writes about, that nobody knows about, except for us, a few of our captains, and a few of our expedition leaders, because we know that for the experience in nature to really take hold, you can't be in there with 80 or 100 people. You need to be in small groups. The itinerary might change on any given hour. If there's whales to be seen, we're going to move to the whales. If we're in a place like this that's calm, we're going to break out the kayaks and the paddle boards. You should know, if you don't already, nature doesn't work on our clock. She's on her own clock, and we're going to follow hers. It's a massive, massive land. But even within that massive land are these small, unique places. That's what we're all about, and what we will always continue to be.
Nature doesn't work on our clock. She works on her own. I love that. And we're ready to follow her clock to Alaska. So let's meet our expedition leader. Oops, let me prove that. Let's meet our expedition leader and our Alaskan expert who will guide you through the highlights of our adventures in Alaska. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Julie. Can you hear me? Sounding good?
Sounding great.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. Hello, everyone out there in internet land, wherever you are. Like Julie said, my name is Ben Marolf. I've been an expedition leader with UnCruise for a while now, working for the company for 6 years. And I'm just really excited to share what I know, what I love, and give you a 30,000-foot view kind of Alaska with UnCruise. And so you get an idea of what a trip is like and also what our different itineraries can offer. go ahead and start the slide here. One moment. All right, let's see if this is going to work here. There we go. Okay, so I have been working with UnCruise for a while. I grew up in the outdoors. I spent my summers in Canada. I went on a trip with UnCruise in 2014. I saw people pushing kayaks into the water and taking people on walks in the woods. Thought that would be a sweet job. Applied. Have been working with UnCruise since 2018. My degrees are in biology and environmental science, as well as in environmental education. And I'm just really excited to share all about Southeast Alaska with you. So let's start from a really broad perspective. Alaska is an enormous, enormous place. And when we talk about Alaska, UnCruise gets to adventure into one really small pocket of it that we refer to as Southeast Alaska. It is Southeast Alaska. If you hear me talk about Southeast at all during this presentation, I'm referring to the land that's, Glacier Bay, Juneau, Sitka, Ketchikan, the Alexander Archipelago. But it's a massive place, and I'm going to talk a little bit at the end of this presentation about how we're expanding into some new spots as well in the coming year. But just to give you a really broad perspective, what we explore down in Southeast is the Tongass National Forest. It is a profoundly large area. It's the largest natural carbon sink in North America at about 16.7 million acres wide. It's huge. It's enormous. And it is just an incredible, incredible place. The Tongass is part of the largest contiguous terrestrial preserve on Earth, starting in northern Southeast Alaska and making its way all the way down the coast of Washington, British Columbia, Oregon to Central California. It's a really incredible ecosystem. Where we explore in Southeast Alaska is an amazing, amazing place to see whales. It is a highly productive marine habitat. The interface between the Pacific Ocean, Chatham Strait, Peril Strait, Icy Strait, Cross Sound brings in a ton of nutrients from the Pacific Ocean. And what that means is that we have great opportunities to see whales at any month of the Alaska season. I know we say we can never guarantee wildlife when we're up there in Southeast Alaska, but I have never been on a trip in all of my years working with the company where we haven't seen at least one humpback whale. It's an amazing place to get the opportunity to see these incredible creatures. Secondarily, it is also the home of the coastal brown bear. The coastal brown bear is the largest subspecies, physically, largest major subspecies of the brown bear, and they're up there the entire time we're up there. They're a really, really incredible creature to be able to get close to. As a note, I want you to know when we're looking through this slideshow for the next half an hour or so here, all these photos, I took them all. They all came from Southeast Alaska. So what you're seeing here is a really accurate representation of Southeast Alaska and what we see on a trip up there. All right, so let's discuss what the UnCruise experience is. There's a lot of different companies that are sailing in Southeast Alaska now. It's a growing industry, but we are special. I truly believe that there's no better way to see Southeast Alaska than with UnCruise. And the beginning of this is where we stop. What you're seeing here is where your general large cruise ships go ashore. They might stop in Ketchikan, maybe a stop in Juneau, a bop up to Skagway, but most of the time is spent on the vessel out at sea, going through large passageways. As you can see from this map, Southeast Alaska is a really intricate place. There's a lot of different islands, small waterways, and our small boats are perfect for getting in and out of every single nook and cranny that you see here. So that's a map of where the big ships go, and this is a map of where uncruisers get to travel. We stop everywhere we can. Every single year that I've been going up there, I visit a new location. There's almost no given week that I spend where I'm going to a place that I have been before. There's almost always some new places that we get to explore, and we get to bring you with us as part of that adventure. And it's really about exploring those little nooks and crannies that make what we do special. So let's talk a little bit about how we get off the boat. So we do have these awesome boats, really small ships, beautiful, fun, intimate, but the ethic of this company is not to go spend time on a boat in Southeast Alaska. The idea is that we use these boats as tools to get you from point A to point B, and we bring a lot of different tools with us to get you out. So if you're someone who loves the water, we've got different options for any activity level. So we carry, anywhere between 10 to 20 kayaks on each boat, depending on the size of the vessel, as well as 4 skiffs. If you've never kayaked before, this is a great opportunity. As you can see in this photo, the waters of Southeast Alaska, while you might think, wow, like what a rugged, wild place, which it is, but our waters are generally pretty placid and calm. This is a standard day. And we've got this wonderful easy dock that gets you in and out of the water seamlessly. So you never have to be getting in or out of a kayak from the water. You always do it from the boat, and then we pull you in and push you back out. It's a really slick system. And if kayaking isn't your thing, that's okay. We've got other options for you. We have skiff tours that run every single day. So for those of you who are here to kind of relax and enjoy the experience, and you don't want to go out for a paddle, that's all right. We can still get you out on the water via a skiff. And then the true beauty of Southeast Alaska, I think, is found in the woods. This is what makes UnCruise special in Southeast Alaska, in my opinion, is our drive to explore and our drive to get out and find new paths everywhere we go. The shore experience with UnCruise has a couple different options, right? Every day as an expedition leader, it's my job to make sure that you all, as the guest, feel like there's an option that's going to work well for you. And our hardest options are these things called bushwhacks, where you go out, there's no trail, you go out with a guide, you have, 1, 2, 3 hours out there to explore the woods. And you go out and you see what you can find. There aren't really many trails up in Southeast Alaska, but that's okay. The woods are incredible. It really brings back a childlike sense of exploration when you're traipsing through the woods. But if that doesn't sound like it's quite your speed, we've got a lot of different options. We've got shore walks, what I like to call eco meanders. In the springtime, the back meadows of so many of these glacial valleys are just filled with exceptionally beautiful wildflowers. So there's a lot of different ways that we get you out there accessing Southeast Alaska. And again, our goal is to get you off of the boat as much as possible. We've got all sorts of crazy options. Our wilderness vessels have snorkeling on them. You might think, gosh, why in the world would I ever want to snorkel in Southeast Alaska? Well, we've got more species of sea star in Southeast Alaska than we have anywhere else on Earth. The biodiversity of what we have in Southeast is off the charts, and it's not just above the water that we get to see these things. So just a really long list of different ways that we get you out there. So that's kind of a big picture of what our activities look like on board. And I want to talk about the different times of year, specifically focusing right now on the spring, or what we at UnCruise like to call Alaska Awakening. The springtime in Southeast Alaska is a special time. For starters, for the crew, it's our first few weeks of the year working together as a team. So it's a really exciting time. We've just finally arrived in Southeast Alaska. We're loving it, stoked to be there. But there's a lot of benefits that come with coming in the spring that you might not expect. For starters, it is the sunniest month of the year. We get less rain is what I mean by that than we get at other times of the year. And what less rain means is less clouds. And less clouds mean better chances at night for clear skies. Better chances at night for clear skies give us better opportunities to see the northern lights. So if you're someone who's interested in going up to see the aurora borealis, the best time of year for us to have that opportunity is in the spring. And that's because in the fall, while we do have those dark nights, there's higher precipitation in the fall. So the spring is just a really amazing time. Wildlife is incredibly easy to find for us in the spring because bears have very predictable patterns down near the shoreline. The whales are super excited because they're just coming back from their migration periods in Hawaii and in Baja. The beauty of Alaska is pronounced in the spring. The snow that's on top of these mountains that are 10, 12, up to 14,000 feet tall is incredible to see from the sea, and it makes for a really beautiful landscape to be sailing through. We've got cheaper flights up there, a lot of wild edible plants. Devil's Club buds are coming out. The Sitka spruce tips are coming out, and not as many or really no bugs in the springtime. So a lot of different benefits to sailing in the spring with UnCruise. Now, we've got a number of different adventures coming up for 2024. For those of you who have maybe traveled with us before, some of these are going to be new. Some of these might be updated. For those of you who have never sailed with UnCruise, I'm going to go through every single itinerary that we have that has to do with Southeast Alaska. And as a note, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to go kind of town by town in terms of where we sail in and where we sail out as how I break them down. I'm going to kind of fly through these because there's a lot of itineraries to get to. But if any of them pique your interest, in the bottom corner of each of these slides, I have a little QR code, so you can just take your phone out and point it at the QR code with the camera if there's a specific itinerary that feels like it's up your alley, and it'll take you right to the link for that specific page on our website, which is kind of handy. So we're going to start with Juneau and the vessels that we have sailing in and out of Juneau, which is every single boat that we have that sails up in Southeast Alaska at some point sails in or out of Juneau. It's a beautiful town. It's my favorite town to fly into because it's got a great nightlife. It's the state capital of Alaska. Tons of beautiful museums, history, lots of great bars and restaurants, and it is UnCruise Adventures' home base as well. So while you're up there, often you'll run into our CEO, Dan, either out at the hangar or just, walking around. He's always there, really present. It's a really cool feeling place to be as a hub for our company. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the itineraries that we have that go Juneau to Juneau, starting with Wild, Woolly, and Wow with Glacier Bay. So what I've got set up for each one of these itineraries is on the right side here, you'll see we have a map of the general route. Now, this isn't going to cover every single place we go because at the end of the day, the ethic of what we do is we explore different little pockets every week. So each week, even with the same itinerary, it looks a little bit different. That's just part of what we do. So I'm covering kind of the big basics and the highlights of what we do. And again, on the bottom left corner there, you'll see a QR code if you're interested in learning more about these specific itineraries. So Wild, Woolly, and Wow with Glacier Bay is a itinerary that's specifically on the Wilderness Legacy. This is an itinerary that was developed as a partnership with REI. If you're familiar, or if you're an REI member, you actually get a little bit of a discount on this trip, which is pretty cool. And some of the highlights of this trip, you get to explore Chatham Strait, the largest and longest fjord in North America outside of Greenland. You get to spend time in Frederick Sound looking for whales. We've had our best success over the last couple of years in Frederick Sound in terms of humpback whales. You get to spend time in Glacier Bay National Park. You get to hit the black bears of QU Island. Not only do we have brown bears, we also have black bears in this itinerary. Gets to see them on QU. The highest density of black bears on Earth is on QU Island. And you get to visit the southernmost tidewater glacier on Earth, the LeConte Glacier, which the captain of the Wilderness Legacy, Tim Voss, who has been sailing with us for decades, kind of re-pioneered a new route, not just to the ice gardens of LeConte, which we've spent the last couple decades spending time at, but all the way up the fjord to the face of the glacier. So this is a glacier that I haven't even gotten to see because I was not on that vessel last year. And it's really a special opportunity to get to see the southernmost tidewater glacier on Earth, which we have up in Southeast Alaska. We've got a couple different itineraries that are tied to Wild, Woolly, and Wow. The first being Kids in Nature, Wild, Woolly, and Wow with Glacier Bay, which is a sailing that is specifically catered to family groups. So if you've got some young ones and are interested in meeting like-minded families on the same trip, we've got two different dates coming up for you, one on June 29th and one on July 27th. And these trips are just going to be a little more kid-focused in terms of both the meal options and also the opportunities off the ship. And if you're like, wow, Wild, Woolly, and Wow sounds great, but I would like to avoid kids at all costs. Well, fear not, we have an itinerary for you as well. We do have two adult-only 18-plus sailings coming up that follow that same itinerary on May 4th and on September 27th of this coming year. And you can check out our website for dates for 2025 for those specific kids or no kids, please itineraries. All right, our second itinerary that we're going to talk about is Alaska's Glacier Wilderness with Glacier Bay. This is a really special opportunity because this is only available on our smallest vessel, the Safari Quest. This boat, because it's small, gets access to some really unique locations that other boats can't get to, even within our small ship. This is the smallest of the small boats that we have. And so the small groups get to go visit Admiralty Island, where we can't go with our bigger vessels because Admiralty Island has very intense limits on how few people can be in a certain place on any given day. So you get rare access to the Fortress of the Bear, or what we like to call Kootsnoo, which is the Tlingit name for that space. And again, it is only available on the Safari Quest. That boat also gets to hit either Tracy Arm with Swear Glacier or Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier on that itinerary. You get the full package on that trip. Another itinerary that we have is the Glacier Bay Adventure Cruise with 2 days in Glacier Bay. What really separates this itinerary from a lot of our other itineraries is not only do you get to see Tracy Arm, you get to hit Frederick Sound, but you get to spend 2 days in Glacier Bay National Park, which is a special thing. A lot of our itineraries only spend 1 day. So if you're looking to maximize your time in the park, 2 days in Glacier Bay National Park. And Glacier Bay has generally better weather windows than things further south. In the northern part of the bay, there just seems to be some sort of atmospheric pocket where we get clear skies. So if you're a northern lights hunter, going in the spring on this itinerary would be just a great plan. I've seen better lights in the park than I've seen anywhere else in Southeast Alaska. So that really has an opportunity to maximize those chances. So those are our Juneau to Juneau itineraries. Again, every single trip that we do either ends or starts in Juneau when it comes to Southeast Alaska. But I'm going to talk now about our itineraries that go from Juneau to Sitka or Sitka to Juneau. And this is a particularly special itinerary for me. This is the itinerary that I've been running. And for the last few years on the Safari Endeavor. If you're thinking, man, you guys all have all these really small ships. The Safari Endeavor is the biggest boat you have at 230 feet long. Why should I go on a bigger boat when I could go on a smaller boat? Let me tell you, it is 230 feet of luxury. It is I think the best boat in the fleet. While it does carry more people, it is so much larger that everything feels more spacious, more spread out, and we've definitely got the best crew on the Safari Endeavor. So it's a special itinerary for me, a special boat to talk about. And Sitka is a gorgeous town. It is really quite local feeling, quaint, wonderful little fishing town. It's what I like to call authentic Alaska. A lot of great Russian history tied to that town as well. And this itinerary, the Northern Passages with Glacier Bay and Sitka, is special. It's the only itinerary that's going to go through Peril Strait, which is the body of water that separates Chichagof Island to the north and Baranof Island to the south, and also spends time in Glacier Bay National Park, now near Icy Strait. This is a wildlife-packed itinerary. The further west you go in Southeast Alaska, the closer you are to the Pacific Ocean. The closer you are to the Pacific Ocean, the more nutrient inflow there is. The more nutrient inflow, the more whales, sea lions, bears, bald eagles. I mean, it just gets more bonkers the farther west you go. And this itinerary specifically focuses on that. And it's a great opportunity to see some things that you can't see on our Juneau to Juneau loops. And it's just a really fun itinerary. It's definitely my favorite out there. And it visits every single week the crown jewel of the U.S. National Park System, in my opinion, which is Glacier Bay National Park. And UnCruise does Glacier Bay better than anybody else does Glacier Bay. You can talk to any of the rangers in the park, and they'll tell you that. What we do is special, even within the small ship cruising industry. It's not just the big ships that are coming in here and cruising by. It's a lot of the other small ships that come in here and cruise by. What we do at UnCruise is unique. Less than 1% of every single visitor that comes to Glacier Bay National Park actually gets off the boat and touches shore or goes on a kayak with the glacier. 100% of UnCruise guests get the chance to do that when you come to Glacier Bay. This is the photograph taken from the Lamplugh Ridge hike early in the spring. If you want to see those frosted tip mountains like this, it's a springtime thing for sure. It is just a really, really special place to get. And we also have permits for the Glacier Bay Outback, Fern Harbor, Taylor Bay, Dundas Bay that are harder to get. And it's a really special place that we get to go see on a lot of our 2-day itineraries in Glacier Bay. Glacier Bay is truly spectacular, and our time there is special. We get very up close and personal with the ice that's there, because this is kind of the reason a lot of people come to Southeast Alaska with us, is to see these giant glaciers that are still there, that are still carving Southeast out. And we get you out there in kayaks. We get you up there on the moraine for ice gardens hikes. We get you out overlooking the glacier on ridge hikes. We go through some of the most pristine woods on Earth. Glacier Bay is very recently deglaciated, the last 400 years. And so the woods there are these amazing combinations of primary and secondary succession. It's really a classroom for what happens when you start with nothing. How do you get to a really productive forest? And then we also focus, when we go into the park, on the indigenous peoples who are very much still present in Southeast Alaska, the Tlingit, the Haida, and Tsimshian people, spending time visiting places like this. The Hoona Tribal House at Glacier Bay National Park, an absolutely stunning both work of art and also functional location for the Hoona people who co-manage Glacier Bay National Park as one of the first ever indigenous and national park combinations. It just is a really beautiful thing, makes for a beautiful place to travel. And then let's talk about our southern side of Southeast Alaska and Ketchikan. Ketchikan is the entrance to Southeast Alaska. When I'm coming up north every year from Seattle going through BC, Ketchikan is like the welcome to Alaska thing. It's the first place we stop to get fuel and to get resources before we continue that journey. And it is an amazing place. It is filled with native heritage and totems. There is a wonderful, wonderful partner of ours who is in Ketchikan, Chief Joe Williams, who does a really amazing walk through Ketchikan through his eyes. He is a local Tlingit chief and is just an incredible, incredible person. And Ketchikan is the port for two of our vessels, the Wilderness Discoverer for 2024, and then the Wilderness Explorer in general as well. And the itinerary that runs down to Ketchikan is Alaska's fjords and glaciers with Ketchikan. As you can see, this is a itinerary that covers a lot of ground physically. You start in Juneau or start in Ketchikan and make your way all the way up through really most of Southeast Alaska, visiting Frederick Sound, going through some really special spots that you don't get to see on other itineraries, specifically this location called the Wrangell Narrows that gets you from Wrangell all the way through to Petersburg. It's a great opportunity to see wildlife. And it also stops through one of the most beautiful places in all of Southeast Alaska, that is Misty Fjords National Monument. So to me, Glacier Bay and Misty Fjords are like a 1-2 punch. Like Misty Fjords is up there with Glacier Bay in terms of scenic beauty and grandeur. And you only get to see this on this fjords itinerary that heads down south in terms of our week-long itineraries. It is beautiful. It was described as Southeast Alaska's Yosemite Valley by John Muir. And if you get to go see it, you will understand exactly why that is. There are 3,000 foot tall cliffs, El Capitans shooting up right next to you. And we get to go to places in Misty Fjords that other companies just can't get to because of how small our vessels are and how nimble we can be in terms of picking out what coves and pockets we go into. And if you're like, man, I want to do Glacier Bay and I want to do Misty Fjords in one package, well, we've got the trip for you. You can combine both of those trips with a 2-week itinerary, Alaska's Fjords and Glaciers Ultimate with Glacier Bay Adventure Cruise. Just check all the boxes off at once. Come on up, spend 2 weeks with us. This is a trip that you'll get to see more of Southeast Alaska than most Alaskans will see in their lifetime. I've got family in Juneau. They've lived there for 20 years. And on 1 to 2 trips, we get to see more things in those 2 trips than they've seen in 20 years, which is pretty special for me to get to do. And it's a fun thing that I get to share with you all while we're out there exploring. Just really, really amazing. If you want the longest trip that we have, you can do our Inside Passage. We do these once or twice a year, depending on the vessel. It is an epic journey. An epic journey on our northbounds or our southbounds. These are 12-day itineraries that make their way from Seattle to Juneau or from Juneau to Seattle. And they do spend time in Glacier Bay National Park as well as Misty Fjords. So you really get to tick a lot of boxes with the Inside Passage, as well as spending a few days in transit through British Columbia, through some of the most scenic waters on Earth. We get to cruise through British Columbia's canyons area. And this is also, I can guarantee this, the only itinerary where you even have the remotest chance of seeing a spirit bear or Kermode bear, which we get to see on Princess Royal or Gribble Islands. It's, there's about 400 of these spirit bears in the entire world that live in this one little spot that we get to be driving right by. We make sure we're doing that during the daylight so that you all have opportunities to see the spirit bears if we're really lucky. And then now let's talk about expansion. We have brand new itineraries coming for 2024 that I am beyond excited about. This one being the Prince William Sound Explorer with Cordova. You'll notice that this map is a little different. Prince William Sound is a really intricate place. And so I wanted to be able to show you all the different places that we'll be traveling. And this is a Whittier to Whittier trip. So it'll be running out of Whittier, which is on the left side, the west side of this map. And you are just ticking a ton of different boxes on this trip, hitting College Fjord, Columbia Glacier, spending some time in Cordova, and then going to the famous Icy Bay to spend some time as well. So this is a new trip. It's going to be on the Safari Explorer. Really excited about this itinerary, and it is almost sold out. So if you're like, man, that sounds incredible, I want to go see all those things, hit that little QR code right there, get signed up. These trips that I'm talking about next as well are also almost sold out. This one being our trip through the Aleutian Islands, which is, wow, what a journey this is going to be. It also starts in Whittier, where our Prince William Sound itineraries start, and it makes its way, instead of in Prince William Sound itself, you're getting out of there, you're heading along Kodiak Island to see the physically largest minor subspecies of brown bear on Earth, absolutely massive brown bears. And it makes its way through the Aleutians, through the volcanoes of the Aleutians, the active volcanoes of the Aleutians. How cool is that? All the way out to Dutch Harbor, or from Dutch Harbor to Whittier. This trip is also almost sold out. And that's just going to be an incredible, incredible time on the Safari Explorer. And then if you want to combine those two, we do have the option, just like we did in Southeast Alaska, to combine our Glacier Bay and our fjords trip. You can also combine the Prince William Sound Explorer with the Aleutian Islands into just a really massive, incredible, incredible package. All of those itineraries, again, are almost sold out. So jump on those if that is something that you're interested in. Maybe you've seen Southeast Alaska and you want to do something different. Just what a cool thing that we're doing now. And I want to talk finally about just the company itself. Small ships are the way to see Southeast Alaska. There's no better way to do it. The tiny little narrow passageways that we have gone through with our very adept captains who have been sailing up there for decades baffle me every time we do it. It's an exciting time for me how close we can get to certain waterfalls, these skinny little bodies of water that we can travel through. So sailing small is an amazing time. It offers you the best chance to really get to explore and experience Southeast Alaska. We're not just sailing by. The goal is to get you out there. The boats are cool, but we want to get you off of them. And at the end of the day, what really makes the UnCruise experience, in my eyes, is our crew. You may have sailed with other companies in the past. You may have sailed with us, but I think something that rings true every single season that I've been with the company, on every single vessel that I've been on, is that the crew that work for us are special. They come to work for UnCruise because they understand that the ethic of what we do, of getting off the boat, experiencing things, is what they want to do too. When you come on a trip with us, you'll notice that it's not just your guides who are getting off the boat to take you out and explore. It's not just the expedition leader. It's not just the expedition team and the deckhands. You will find that the stewards who are serving you your meals and cleaning your rooms are also getting out to go see these things. You'll find that the pastry chef is coming with you on a kayak. You'll find the assistant engineer out there going for a bushwhack. That's just who we are as a company. It's a really familial company. And I think that makes our trips really great because we get to know you and you get to know us as part of these trips. And it's really the heart of UnCruise is our crew and the people that make these experiences possible. So with that, I'm going to say Gunal Chish, which is Clinket, for thank you for listening to my side of the presentation. And I hope to see you all up in Southeast Alaska very soon. Thanks, Julie.